So let's begin our Realty Plus e-conclave with the first session of the day on the topic Delhi NCR New Growth Cycle, Robust Realty Demand and Supply. Let me introduce our panel members. The session will be chaired by Santosh Kumar, Vice Chairman, ANAROCK. Santosh Kumar was the group's India's head, and the entire India city leads and its Dubai office reports to him. He has over 20 years of hands-on experience in Indian real estate, and Santosh Kumar is associate of AICWA, member of FICCI, and is also member of the Indian Cancer Research Society. Welcome, Mr. Santosh Kumar, and we look forward to a very interesting session moderated by you. Let me introduce our speakers in an alphabetical order. I welcome Mr. Pradeep Agarwal, founder and chairman, Signature Global Group, and chairman, ASSOCHAM, National Council on Real Estate, Housing and Urban Development. With a grand vision and mission of Har Parivar, Ek Ghar, house for every family, Mr. Agarwal has been contributing significantly to the Housing for All mission. With a target to launch 1 lakh affordable housing by 2022, he has launched close to a dozen affordable housing projects in the National Capital Region. Our next eminent panel member is Mr. Pradeep Jain, Chairman, Parsavnath Developers. Mr. Pradeep Jain is a first-generation entrepreneur, and he has been the member of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and several other industry associations. He was the past chairman, CREDA National too, and under his leadership, Parsavnath Developers, with a pan-India presence in over 37 cities, became the first real estate company to have integrated with ISO 9001, 1401, and OHSAS 1801. Our next very eminent panel member is Mr. Pradeep Lalla, MD and CEO, Embassy Services Private Limited. Pradeep Lalla joined Embassy Services in 2013, and in a very short span of time, he has taken Embassy Services to become one of the largest business units within the Embassy Group. Mr. Pradeep Lalla drives the firm's international footprint through new offices and global client relationships. He has over 3 decades of experience and has held various leadership roles. Our next very eminent panel speaker is Mr. Prashant Solomon, Managing Director, Chintals India, and Honorary Treasurer, CREDA NCR. Mr. Solomon has a degree in law and is the promoter of the Chintals Group. Under his able leadership, the Chintals Group of companies have been actively involved in the field of real estate in the NCR, and the flagship company, Chintals India Limited, is in the process of developing over 600 acres of prime land in the new sectors of Gurgaon. Our next eminent panel member, let me introduce Ms. Pushpa Bector, Executive Director, DLF Retail Malls. Ms. Pushpa Bector leads the DLF shopping malls comprising 5 properties across Delhi, NCR and Chandigarh, namely DLF Mall of India, India's first and largest destination mall, DLF Promenade, DLF Place, DLF Cyber Hub, India's first integrated F&B and entertainment destination, and DLF City Center, Chandigarh, and new upcoming projects. She is currently responsible for providing executive leadership and management of DLF shopping malls, where she heads the business units, including marketing, leasing, finance, and operations. Our final panel member of this session is Mr. Sunil Agarwal, founder and MD, Black Olive Ventures, which is a new age valuation and advisory services company. Mr. Agarwal has over 25 years of experience in the Indian real estate sector. He has been the co-founder and CEO of South Asian Real Estate, FDI-backed funds management and real estate development company. And Mr. Agarwal is a faculty and council member of Institution of Valuers, board member of Nisus Finance, investment committee member of Mirae Asset and Dalmia Asset Management's real estate funds. So this is our very eminent panel for this very interesting session. Let me hand it over to Mr. Santosh Kumar to take forward the conversation.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you so much for giving the introduction of all the panel members. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really an honor to welcome you all. Very vibrant panel we have. Many of the panel members are very good friend of mine, very good friend of our firm. So thank you so much for joining on this very interesting, insightful panel discussion on the subject Delhi NCR's demand and supply growth. I think the best part post-pandemic, like Anurag mentioned, we are witnessing a rapid growth in the sales on the residential part of the business. It's very heartening to see the market bouncing back with a vengeance after some of the toughest times we had in the last 2 years. And especially Delhi NCR witnessed a lot of challenges. We had infrastructure challenges, we had regulatory challenges, the challenges on the environment side. There has been a huge amount of challenges, and when we go to some of the other cities, many of the developer friends do blame NCR developers for bringing or gifting the RERA to the real estate community. But having said that, we have seen very prominent developers coming out, or development companies coming out from the NCR. We have seen a huge amount of development in the NCR region, on different assets classes. Just to give the numbers, I think, in the last 2 quarters, NCR has witnessed a growth of around 48% on year-on-year basis on the housing sales. I think the last quarter was one of the best quarter in the last decade, I would say, which has completely outstripped many of the previous quarters. Even across the top 8 cities, if you compare, the last quarter was one of the best quarters. Around 64,000 units got sold in the last quarter itself. These were the year-on-year growth compared to the same quarter. The new launches in the last 8 cities were around more or less similar, which is around 60,000 units came into the market, which is a significant recovery, I would say, as compared to the Q2 of 2021. I think in this panel, we'll be discussing many more things. We have got a very eminent panel, contributing from various assets classes, and we'll have a very insightful discussion on the future of real estate, especially for the NCR. So I am honored to be joining today, some of the best of the leaders in the industry, best of the minds in our industry, and let me probe them. What's their thoughts as far as the future of real estate, as far as NCR is concerned. So my first question to Pradeep ji, Pradeep Agarwal ji from Signature Global. Pradeep ji, the hot topic at this moment, this is regarding the pollution. At this moment, everyone is going through the pollution challenges in the NCR. And I do not think इससे बढ़िया चीज अगर हम आज के दिन में कोई और चीजें discussion नहीं कर सकते हैं apart from the pollutions. So being one of the largest developer and having Pradeep ji, so many construction going on in different sites, especially on your various projects. So what is your thoughts? What is the solution for this year-on-year problem? We have been seeing these regular lockdowns on the construction sites because of the pollution, and government was also not being able to bring in any kind of a solutions, and ultimately it is going to impact the developer as well as the customer, because there will be a delay in the project completions. So what's your thought, and what is the solution for this this problem?
So thanks, Santosh, and good afternoon to all of you. So first of all, of course, आज की डेट में एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज ऐसा बन चुका है कि कोविड भी एक ऐसे पीरियड रहे कि काफ़ी टाइम जो कंस्ट्रक्शन थी वो कहीं ना कहीं स्टॉप रही, और पॉल्यूशन भी एक ऐसा मुद्दा हर ईयर के लिए बन गया है कि लगभग 1 मंथ से 1.5 मंथ के अराउंड हर ईयर ही ये लॉकडाउन होता है. यानी एक्सपेक्टेड है. जितने भी डेवलपर्स हैं वो ऑलरेडी अपनी एक्सेल्स में उसको एक प्रोपोजिशन में लेकर चलते हैं कि कम से कम 1 मंथ का एक लॉकडाउन, अनसेड लॉकडाउन आएगा। ऑफ कोर्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जैसा अभी लास्ट अपनी उसमें भी कहा कि एक परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन चाहिए। आई थिंक सो परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन की बहुत ज्यादा नीड है। केवल जिस वक्त प्रॉब्लम आए उसी वक्त सॉल्यूशन बने, मुझे लगता है वो राइट वे नहीं है। और शायद अगर जितनी भी गवर्नमेंट हैं कुछ इसके बारे में एक ठोस डिसीजन लेती हैं तो जरूर कोई ना कोई सॉल्यूशन निकलेगा, क्योंकि इसका बहुत बड़ा खामियाजा रियल एस्टेट को भुगतना पड़ता है। रीजन क्या है? फॉर एग्जांपल मैं सिर्फ अपनी साइट की बात करूं तो बिफोर जब पोल्यूशन के लिए इन्होंने बैन किया, उस वक्त लगभग 5000 से ज्यादा लेबर ऑन बोर्ड थी वहां जो काम कर रही थी, और लास्ट 15 दिन में वो जो लेबर है वो घट के 2000 पर आ गई है, क्योंकि वो एक टाइम के बाद वो उसको आपको रोकना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है। तो ऐसे में चैलेंजेस नो डाउट बहुत ज्यादा हैं इस चीज को लेके कि इसका एक परमानेंट सोल्यूशन जरूर बनाना पड़ेगा, अदरवाइज न डेवलपर को ही नहीं पूरे देश को इसका एक बहुत बड़ा लॉस है। तो आई थिंक सो मुझे लगता है कि पॉल्यूशन पॉइंट पे तो यही चीज है। दूसरा, जैसा आपने काफी आंकड़े दिए, तो मुझे लगता है आंकड़ों के तो आप जादूगर हैं और पूरे इंडिया का एक जो जूस है वो निकाल के आप बता रहे होते हैं कि क्या चीज कैसा है। मुझे लगता है अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग का हब जो है वो दिल्ली एनसीआर बन चुका है। इस वक्त अगर हम ज्यादातर जो प्राइस पॉइंट 25 लाख से 75 लाख रुपए के बीच का जो सेगमेंट है, चाहे वो गुरुग्राम एरिया हो, चाहे नोएडा हो, ग्रेटर नोएडा हो, इस टिकट साइज की जो डिमांड है वो अनलिमिटेड है। यू कैन से अनलिमिटेड मीन्स कि जितनी इन्वेंट्री आपके पास अवेलेबल है और अगर आपकी लोकेशन राइट है एंड जो फ्लैट्स आपने बनाए हैं उनके डिजाइन राइट हैं, तो जो लेने वाले हैं उनकी जो डिमांड है मुझे लगता है बहुत ज्यादा है, और जो सप्लाई है वो कहीं ना कहीं कम है। कुछ ना कुछ पॉलिसी लेवल के ऊपर भी मुझे लगता है गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत ज्यादा काम किया है। अगर हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट की बात करें तो हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट ने पहले एक अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग जो सेगमेंट था उसको लॉन्च किया। इसके बाद जो दीनदयाल जो सेगमेंट था वो DDJY, वो मुझे लगता है एक बहुत बड़ा गेम चेंजर बना है, पर्टिकुलर गुरुग्राम रीजन के अंदर। बहुत सारे डेवलपर इस वक्त इन प्लॉट्स को लेकर आ रहे हैं, प्लॉट्स उनके ऊपर फ्लोर बनाने में, और अल्टीमेट उससे एड्रेस किया हुआ है टिकट साइज। क्योंकि आज जो पर्सन, इससे पहले गुरुग्राम में अगर उसे कोई भी प्लॉट लेना है तो कम से कम 250 स्क्वायर यार्ड का मिनिमम था, और जिसके फ्लोर्स की अगर बात करें तो इन करोड़ थे। आज ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि लगभग 100 स्क्वायर यार्ड में आराम से 2 BHK यूनिट आप बना सकते हैं और उसे 40-45 लाख रुपए में उसको एक फ्लोर प्रोवाइड करा सकते हैं। तो ये एक गेम चेंजर बना है। दूसरा, जो लोकेशन एडवांटेज है मुझे लगता है वो एनसीआर के पास सबसे ज्यादा है, क्योंकि गुरुग्राम एक पूरा का पूरा बिजनेस हब है। टॉप एमएनसीज, ग्लोबल एमएनसीज हैं वो गुरुग्राम में हैं, और नोएडा भी कहीं ना कहीं एम्प्लॉयमेंट के मामले में आगे निकलता जा रहा है। क्योंकि रिसेंटली आप देखिए जो जेवर एयरपोर्ट है वो भी अनाउंस हुआ है, वो एक पूरी की पूरी सिचुएशन को मुझे लगता है बहुत ज्यादा चेंज करेगा। क्योंकि आज तक गुरुग्राम के पास जो एडवांटेज था वो कहीं ना कहीं जो एयरपोर्ट है उसका बहुत एडवांटेज रहता था। आज अगर ये जो एयरपोर्ट है जेवर एयरपोर्ट, जितनी जल्दी ये शुरू होगा वहां का रियल एस्टेट मुझे लगता है ड्रास्टिकली चेंज होगा। ऐसे ही जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट है वो भी धीरे धीरे कहीं ना कहीं और ज्यादा बढ़ रहा है। अभी जो चैलेंजेस मुझे नजर आते हैं, अगर मैं चैलेंजेस की बात करूं तो सबसे ज्यादा बड़े चैलेंजेस हैं कॉस्ट। जो कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट है वो इस दौरान काफी ज्यादा हाइक हुई है। अगर कुछ रॉ मटेरियल्स की बात करें, स्टील या सीमेंट की, जो एक कंस्ट्रक्शन में सबसे बड़ा पोर्शन है, वो उसने काफी बड़ा हिट किया है। लेकिन फिर भी क्योंकि रियल एस्टेट को लेकर मैं बहुत पॉजिटिव हूं, और मुझे लगता है ये जो डिकेड है 2030 वाला, इस डिकेड के अंदर रियल एस्टेट की जो तस्वीर है बिल्कुल बदलने वाली है। और आई होप कि जितने भी डेवलपर इस डिकेड के अंदर सरवाइव करके काम करेंगे तो एक बहुत बहुत अच्छी पोजीशन अर्न करने वाले।
प्रदीप जी, आपने बहुत सारी चीजें कवर कर दिया एक ही सवाल में। आपने जो है पोल्यूशन को भी कवर कर दिया, आपने अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के बारे में भी कवर कर दिया। उसके बाद जो है अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग की जो है प्रपोजिशन है जो एनसीआर मार्केट में, उसके बारे में आपने बात किया। उसके बाद आपने टच किया लैंड के ऊपर भी। मेरे हिसाब से प्रदीप जी, सबसे बड़ा सवाल इस टाइम आता है, ये जो रिकवरी हुई है मार्केट की जो है पोस्ट कोविड, हर जगह हम जाते हैं तो एक बहुत बड़ा एक वाइब्रेंसी है हर एक मार्केट में कि बहुत जबरदस्त तरीके का एक रेसिडेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट के लिए बहुत जबरदस्त डिमांड आ रही है। तो सबसे बड़ा फियर ये लग रहा है कि ये कितना टाइम तक ये रहेगा, ये बुएंसी के कब तक रहेगा। और जिस तरीके से आपने सर टच किया कि कॉस्ट जो है द लास्ट फ्यू मंथ द कॉस्ट हैज रियली गॉन अप, एंड सर ये कॉस्ट जो है आप कभी ना कभी कस्टमर्स को पास ऑन करोगे, उससे जो है सेल्स के ऊपर क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ने वाली है। एंड आप तो सबसे ज्यादा तो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग सेगमेंट में आपको पास कुछ ना कुछ एक रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, आप प्राइस को बढ़ा नहीं सकते हो। तो कंसिडरिंग दैट हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू मैनेज एंड हाउ लॉन्ग दिस ये जो बुएंसी है वो कंटिन्यू रहेगा प्रदीप जी?
संतोष, फर्स्ट पॉइंट आपका कि जो डिमांड है, क्योंकि आप ना किसी भी एसेट क्लास की बात करें, आप कैपिटल मार्केट की बात करें, वहां ऑलरेडी मार्केट हायर पर है, वहां और इन्वेस्टमेंट आने के लिए मुझे लगता है एक बड़ा चैलेंज है। दूसरा, अगर आप किसी मेटल में गोल्ड या सिल्वर किसी और एसेट क्लास की बात करें तो वहां भी क्योंकि जो प्राइजेस हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज नहीं देखने को मिल रहे हैं। एक रियल एस्टेट ऐसा सेक्टर है जो पिछले 5 to 7 ईयर में बहुत ज्यादा ग्रोथ नहीं कर पाया है, और सबसे ज्यादा जो पहले अगर इंडियन माइंडसेट रहा है तो रियल एस्टेट के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट का रहा है, लेकिन लास्ट डिकेड में कुछ ऐसा हुआ कि इन्वेस्टमेंट के ऊपर कोई रिटर्न नहीं आ पाया, तो लोगों का रुझान थोड़ा कम हो गया। लेकिन ये सिचुएशन इस वक्त बिल्कुल चेंज हुई है। और दूसरा, जैसे आपने कोविड के बाद कहा, कोविड के बाद हमने जैसे लोगों का माइंडसेट समझा कि अचानक कोविड के बाद डिमांड क्यों आ गई, क्योंकि नॉर्मली किसी भी एसेट क्लास की बात करें, उस एसेट क्लास के अंदर एक चीज सबसे ज्यादा देखने वाली है कि वो किस रेट के ऊपर आप उसमें इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं। तो मुझे लगा कि रियल एस्टेट एक कोविड के बाद कहीं ना कहीं एक प्रेशर फील कर रहा था, लोगों ने अपनी इन्वेंट्री को डिस्पोज ऑफ भी किया और लोगों को अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी भी मिली। आप देखिए बहुत सारे ऐसे एरिया हैं, इवन जैसे गुरुग्राम में अगर मैं बात करूं तो लगभग 50% से ज्यादा ग्रोथ हुआ है। खास करके अगर प्लॉट की बात करें तो जिन प्लॉट्स के रेट 70-80 हजार रुपए स्क्वायर यार्ड थे वो लगभग 1,20,000 से 30,000 रुपए हो गए। तो अचानक से डिमांड आई है, लोगों को रियलाइज हुआ है कि दिस इज द राइट टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट या फॉर बाय द प्रॉपर्टी। दूसरी एक चीज मैंने और नोटिस की है इसके अंदर कि लोग क्या करते हैं कि रेजी की यील्ड हमेशा डाउन होती है लगभग 2 से 3%, और अदर एसेट क्लास हैं वो कम से कम 8 से 12% का रिटर्न देते हैं। तो नॉर्मली लोग क्या करते हैं, अपनी जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है वो किसी अदर एसेट क्लास में लगाकर रखते हैं, और जो घर है वो किराए पर भी प्रेफर कर लेते हैं। लेकिन कोविड ने पहली बार लोगों को ये बात समझाई है कि छोटा हो या बड़ा, एक अपना घर जरूर होना चाहिए। किसी भी एक्सीडेंटल सिचुएशन के अंदर कुछ भी हो, कम से कम उस घर में जाकर हम आराम से रह सकते हैं। तो ये जो माइंडसेट चेंज है ये आया है, और खास करके इस टिकट साइज में जो 25 लाख से 75 लाख की जो टिकट साइज है, इसमें तो इस माइंडसेट में बहुत चेंज आया है। क्योंकि मैंने लोगों के ये कन्वर्सेशन सुने हैं, उनसे डिस्कस किया है कि आपने अचानक अपना इरादा चेंज कैसे कर लिया, आज तक आप बाहर नहीं थे। उन्होंने कहा कि कोविड के टाइम में हमने जो चीजें फेस की हैं वो हम दोबारा नहीं देखना चाहते। इन केस अगर हम किराए के मकान में हैं और अगर हमारा जो लैंडलॉर्ड है हमें नहीं रखना चाहता तो उस वक्त हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी ट्रबल क्रिएट होगी। तो इस वजह से हम अपना मकान बुक कराना चाहते हैं। यही डिमांड कहीं ना कहीं आपको जो ग्राउंड से नजर आ रही है। और दूसरा, हरियाणा में जो गवर्नमेंट है उसने क्या किया है, इस दौरान लगभग 3,000 से ज्यादा अनअप्रूव्ड जो कॉलोनीज थी, जो मशरूमिंग क्रिएट हो रही थी, लोग अनऑथराइज कॉलोनीज को काटकर और सेल कर रहे थे, उनके ऊपर कहीं ना कहीं वार किया है। ऐसी दीनदयाल जन आवास योजना लाके उन लोगों को डिमोरलाइज किया है कि आप ऐसी जो कॉलोनीज है ना काटें, और गवर्नमेंट कहीं ना कहीं एक्शन में भी आई है। ऐसी कॉलोनीज के ऊपर कहीं ना कहीं उन्होंने एक्शन भी लिया है, जिससे जो लोग हैं बाय करने वाले, खास करके छोटे टिकट साइज वाले, उन्होंने दीनदयाल जन आवास योजना जैसी योजना में पैसा लगाया है। ये डिमांड जो है वहां से नजर आ रही है। दूसरी सेकंड पॉइंट आपने कहा कि जो कंस्ट्रक्शन की कॉस्ट है वो अल्टीमेट पास ऑन होगी। आई थिंक एज ए डेवलपर मैं कहूंगा एक टाइम तक आप उसे बियर कर सकते हैं, उसके बाद अल्टीमेट आपको उसे पास ऑन करना पड़ेगा। लेकिन अभी भी जो इस मार्केट में डिमांड है वो ज्यादा है, तो मुझे लगता है ये जो पास ऑन होगा ये भी कस्टमर कहीं ना कहीं बियर कर ले।
बट उसकी वजह से सेल्स का वेलोसिटी में इंपैक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा?
मुझे नहीं, अभी बिल्कुल नहीं। मुझे अभी देखिए, डिमांड का आपको ना डिमांड एंड सप्लाई का गैप समझना होता है। रियल एस्टेट के अंदर आप पिछले डिकेड की बात करें तो लगभग 100 से ज्यादा एक्टिव डेवलपर काम कर रहे थे दिल्ली एनसीआर में। इस वक्त एक्टिव डेवलपर जो है वो 20 से भी कम है। तो आप ये मान के चलिए कि जो पहले सिचुएशन थी उसमें आज में बहुत चेंज है। लेकिन जो बायर है वो तो अल्टीमेट है। हर साल यूथ एक क्रिएट होता है जिसको कहीं ना कहीं घर चाहिए होता है, और अब तो खास करके जो नया यूथ है उसके अंदर भी एक अपना घर लेने की जो है वो ज्यादा होड़ है। अगर आप होम लोन सेगमेंट की बात करें तो पिछले 2010 से पहले जो एवरेज एज थी जो होम लोन लेने वालों की लगभग 41 ईयर से ज्यादा थी। आज वो जो एज है वो एवरेज 31 से 35 के बीच में है। तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जैसे ही वो अपनी मैरिज करता है, उस काम से होता है, तो उसके बाद वो तुरंत चाहता है कि मैं अपना घर ले लूं। तो ये जो माइंडसेट चेंज आया, मुझे लगता है ये कहीं ना कहीं आने वाले टाइम तक भी बना रहेगा। तो मैं पर्टिकुलरली बहुत बुलिश हूं, कम से कम अगले 5 साल के लिए। तो
we are also hoping, Pradeep ji, we are also hoping that this buoyancy will remain there for longer period than what we have seen in the past. Sunil, you have been a veteran in this industry, and you have been studying this sector very diligently and thoroughly. What's your take the way things are happening on various asset classes, Sunil? You have been observing the office side as well, retail side. There are new sectors which are emerging like logistics, data centers. Being a consultant and as a professor of this industry, how do you see this sector?
Thank you, Santosh. Good to see a couple of faces. Sort of was interacting physically. आजकल सब जो है Zoom पे ही बात होती है. But anyway, good opportunity. Thank you, Exchange for Media. Very quickly, I think COVID अगर हम देखें, अगर that's the immediate past that everybody has seen COVID, the darling of investment has always been residential. Because I think you look at US markets, you look at European markets, you look at Indian markets, Pradeep ji bhi keh rahe the, I think people have realized that they need a house, and more so in Indian context, जब prices बहुत time तक नहीं बढ़े, उम्मीद भी बहुत ज़्यादा जो है उनके गिरने की अब नहीं है, क्योंकि cost cycle बढ़ गया है। स्टील सीमेंट ही अगर हम लें और कोई नया प्रोजेक्ट प्लान करें तो 150 से 200 रुपए is what we think is per square foot का impact है। बाकी चीजें आप और इंक्लूड कर लें तो आई थिंक दिस इम्पैक्ट इज अ सिग्निफिकेंट इम्पैक्ट। अगर वो कोई स्ट्रक्चर ही 650 रुपए का बनाता था, 700 का बनाता था, वो 800, 850, 900 रुपए से कम नहीं है अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के अंदर। सो दैट इज वन सेक्टर दैट आई थिंक आई also do valuations. We were doing 2,200 valuations. Now we're doing 4,000 valuations every month. So that tells you the kind of demand that has emerged, at least in the affordable segment. दूसरा सेगमेंट when कोविड वाज देयर, आई स्टडीड कि न्यूटन साहब जो है बहुत बड़े फिजिसिस्ट थे, उन्होंने जो है क्या करा कि ही वेंट फॉर हाइबरनेशन फॉर 2 years almost when the great plague happened in UK. And I have seen a lot of people जो आज छोटे से फार्म हाउस का, चाहे वो 1 बीघे का फार्म हाउस हो, अगर आप जेबर साइड जाएं and you look at what is happening there, is even 500 square meter plots are being done. Some of them obviously are not legal, and that Kachi colony thing is also happening, which is not good. But I think there is this huge pent-up demand for people to stay away from these smaller houses in the urban area to a larger space, 30, 40, 50 kilometers away. An example is that my secretary in Bombay, I asked her one day, what do you do on weekends? And he said, I go to a house in Mira and Bhayandar, because, she was staying in a 1-room flat in Bombay, in Bandra, and then she used to go on a weekend कि वहाँ मैं 3 bedroom का मकान afford कर सकती हूँ, so I need more space, and party सब मीरा भायंदर रोड पे होने लगी. I think this trend will also continue. and there will be a lot of demand for these larger plotted developments along the peripheral way. This is my feeling. Commercial, I think, we all understand what has happened to commercial. Pehle tha ki ji bahut office space is now down and out, and Pradeep is there, and I think people who are more knowledgeable, close to heart. But if you look at what's happened to Embassy REIT, pricing has not dipped beyond 325 rupees, and people are still getting this 6-7% returns. So I think when you look at either Mindspace, you look at Embassy, which obviously is the leader, the grade A space, you will still find people who will want to be there. Youngsters more than senior. मुझे तो बड़ा अच्छा लगता है मैं घर से बैठ के काम कर लूं. But when you look at these youngsters, my own daughters, इनकी इच्छा नहीं होती कि they don't want to be sitting on screens for that period of time. They want to go out, they want to interact, they want to meet. And it is the youngsters who are driving this demand of office space. They don't want to sit at homes. They may be sitting at homes for 1 or 2 days or 3 days a week, but 4 days out of 7, they want to be in the office meeting their colleagues. So while these 40, 45, 50, we may think very differently, but I think this youngsters do want to meet. This millennial generation has realized that sitting in front of screens is not a good thing, and you're seeing leasing coming back. So I am not very, I'm not that guy who will say that office is down and out. Yes, there'll be restructuring, there'll be more changes in design. You may have to have offices as more as meeting places than places where actual work happened. You could hive off a few things, but I think office is there to stay, especially grade A office. And I don't see also a lessening of demand for smaller offices. आज अगर 1000 फुट का ऑफिस किसी के पास है, so a chartered accountant, a lawyer, a professional, उसको city center एक अच्छी space में वो छोटा furnished office चाहिए. He may not be expanding too much, but I think you will have this demand, and some of that will be taken away by, again, co-works. I think co-works are here to stay. Obviously, the scale at which they had done, वो नहीं चलेगा. Retail, I have an issue. I mean, retail, I feel, I don't know how, but malls will have to fight a battle. There is a lot of e-commerce that's happening. And I think we were already seeing before pandemic also, plate sizes have reduced in a lot of, large anchors also. 40,000 foot ki jagah 20,000 foot pe aa gaye the. So today, I think retail is some kind of a puzzle, and that is to be redefined. Logistics, lesser said, the better. I don't think so. There could be a better time. GST has come. Everybody understands. You don't have, 5 warehouses in NCR. Pehle Delhi, Rajasthan, Gurgaon, Noida, Greater Noida, har jagah ek warehouse ki zarurat hoti hai. Today you can have a hub and spoke model. So that is there for staying, and I think you will see more massive logistics come up. Hospitality, again, I think you're seeing a churn of the cycle, but yes, what vengeance tourism has happened, the high-end properties are here to stay. I think that's something which, people used to always tell me that hotel banana hai to 5-star hotel hi banao. Jab jo hai dikkat aayegi to 5-star mein to kamra book ho jayega, the lower end will die. So I think you are seeing business hotels do well. At the same time, luxury properties will come back. So I think hospitality is there. On the other asset classes of data centers and parking lots and any income producing asset, whether it is a toll road, whether it is a data center, whether there is, income out of that property, that income which is regular from property and asset which is indestructible has proven to be the darling of investors across the globe. Mera aisa manna hai, and I think it will be music to Pradeep ji's ears also, that the asset class which is income producing, use hi hum real estate bolte hain. We just believe that this asset class will replace the debt. If you look at my personal portfolio, 50% of my debt, 50% of my debt allocation will move to REITs. And there were fears when, this Embassy was going down at 331 rupees, allocation hua, phir 325 gir gaya. I think people who were sensible, they understood this game, are smiling today, because I think it's not only capital appreciation, but certainty of income from a real estate resource is definitely far more better than a bond paper. Log kehte hain ji bond khareed lo. We've seen all what has happened to bonds, even when you have large institutions, I will not name, but unke mutual funds bhi aaye, wo bond to hawa ho gaya, companies ke niche koi asset base nahi tha. At least in real estate REITs, you will see that, confidence, and ye aaj usko samajh nahi aata hai, usko aur अच्छे से समझ में आना चाहिए. when you get a 6-7% from a REIT, it is almost tax-free. Whereas if you get a 6-7% on FDR, it is pre-tax income. So today, if somebody has to match what these REITs will give at 6-7%, is equivalent of almost a 9-10%. और आज के टाइम में 9-10% की जो yield है, अभी प्रदीप जी ने कहा जी जो लोग 8 से 12% के पेपर में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, at 6-7% also your effective yield is 8-10%. And that too, धीरे धीरे वो capital appreciation अगर होता है, तो I think you will see income producing real estate of all varieties. Parking lots हो, आपके toll roads हो, आपकी office space हो, logistics space हो. I think you will see REITs like Embassy diversify much more and then give good handsome returns to investors. This is what my take on various asset classes is, Santosh.
Sunil, very well summarized. I think as usual, Sunil, you have been able to summarize in a very, very easy manner, I think, which people can easily understand, especially on the last part, which was the capital return on the investment made on their portfolios. Pradeep ji, Pradeep Jain साहब, यहाँ पे panel में 3 Pradeep जी है, so I'm finding it a little difficult to moderate. Jain साहब, आपने देखा होगा sir, there has been a talk about consolidation in the industry, and हमने बात किया था, इस बार NCR में भी consolidation हो रही है, some of the listed entities or the corporates are coming and getting into smaller developers, or maybe the some of the developers who have been facing very difficult times. Pradeep ji, वो consolidations अभी जिस तरीके से उसका reflection देखा जाए तो sales में, what we have seen, the sales, especially on the number of units sold, if you compare it with the listed entities as against the non-listed entities, there's a huge difference. बहुत ज़्यादा जो बिक्री अभी जो है product जो है जो listed entities का या corporate entities का बिक्री है, that's primarily because of the trust factor. तो उसको नजर में देखते हुए प्रदीप जी, आप कैसे देख रहे हो आगे जाके कि जो non-branded या non-corporate entities, how they are going to survive and how they are going to strategize themselves in order to survive in this market?
Hi, Santosh. Good afternoon, everybody. Santosh, if you look at this question in a different manner, from last 12 years, the large developer across the country, including the listed entities, they expanded themselves to the different cities, say pan-India presence, right?
Yes. Yes.
So like some people are working 10 cities, some people are working 20 cities, etc., etc. And suddenly real estate become a downtrend in all the asset class. Either you talk about the luxury, affordable, mid, retail, commercial, all asset class of the real estate. And then the developers' projects start delaying, right? And then the RERA come, other regulations come, service tax come, GST comes, etc., etc. And the most of the projects are delayed, either the small developer, mid developer, or the larger developer across the country. Now, after the pandemic, the consolidation is one part, but the demand of all asset class start coming up. Either you talk about affordable, Pradeep ji talk about affordable, Sunil talks about some other asset class, etc. Now, the thing is, the consolidation start in a different manner. The issue is not that the listed entity is consolidating or the small developer is consolidating. The bad market or bad developer from the market are going away. What happened in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, particularly one area of the Noida, Greater Noida, right? The government giving the land in 10% and the people start selling, and they become a biggest developer than any other developer of the country. And they expanded, like if we like talking with someone how many number of flats you are developing. They talk about 50,000 flats, 50 million square feet, oh, kind of that. But there was no balance sheet. You know, even today also, जितने भी छोटे-छोटे developer आज काम कर रहे हैं, yes, they are creating their brand. They're like I'm not naming one of the large developer called in Delhi NCR in these days, selling the product very aggressively. But when you go into the deep, they are giving the 12% assured return, 18% assured return, 24% assured return. Santosh, this is going to be bubble. I'm telling you today, whatever happened in 2006 to 10, we worked together. We have seen how the developer work. The same way, the new developers who becomes a large or mid, doing in the same fashion, collecting the cash, collecting the money, whatever be the terms, nobody bothered about why they are able to do it that. They are able to do it that because they are not compliance developer. There is no compliance, there is no SEBI, there is no other regulator other than the RERA. Now, the lot of developer in Delhi NCR, I don't know about other part of the country, the lot of developers, they start selling without RERA registration, without anything. Yesterday, day before yesterday, the Delhi RERA come out with the Sumoto judgment that no one can sell, no construction can happen in Delhi if there is no RERA registration. They stop the construction. So the basic thing is the large developer or the project, stalled project, they are consolidating, going to the smaller developer or a mid developer or a large developer. The issue is not listed or unlisted entity. The consolidation is required. As Pradeep says, like in Delhi NCR, now is 20 developer, right? Earlier 100 developer. If you ask me, earlier there was a 10,000 developer. Now is maybe 1,000 developer. And they start consolidating. They burn their face and finger. But the only my concern and fear, which is very big, whatever happening in Delhi NCR or other part of the country, like in another market, let me address, like Hyderabad, 100% developer, they are selling the product without registration. Today, in the Hyderabad newspaper, there was an article talking about this. So basic thing is the developer required more compliance, who fulfill all the compliance, the RERA or the other, to stop all these, the unethical practice, what the people did. And consolidation is always healthy. Like if I have one project, right? Affordable, like I have a land for affordable, and affordable is not my forte. I go to Pradeep ji, okay, I want to do a joint venture with you. Is nothing wrong. Or like Pradeep ji doing only affordable and I am doing luxury and I have a good brand in luxury. So we can collaborate. Collaboration and resources to use of the other developer, always good. But the fear is need to be look at that, how that consolidation is happening. People are entering into the agreements, etc. without compliance. They are selling into the market. That become a very, 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 very big concern. The Pradeep ji talking about the huge demand. Sunil talking about like the demand start into the outside. See, in last 2 years, nobody able to do anything because of the pandemic. Rate home mortgage rate of very high. People are depressed completely in every family. Sometimes the other thing is happened. Now, from last 5 months, suddenly everybody come out, the sitting with the cash, home mortgage rate comes down, demand is there. The biggest challenge of the present developer going to be faced, like people are selling even today, 3,500 rupees a square feet of the multi-story group housing project. How they can deliver? They are not able to deliver because the cost of construction go high. Today, 30-story building, somebody is talking about to complete in 1,500 rupees a square feet. Sorry to say, the same language people are talking as in 2010, 11, 12, the Noida developer, they are talking will complete in 800 rupees. How the people can complete 30-story building in 1,500 rupees? So this is there are the issues, but the consolidation is good. And I think healthy.
Yeah. So Pradeep, I think you rightly said, one is that consolidation is very healthy. It's an ongoing process. It will continue to consolidate this sector. Second, I think the past mistakes, what has been made in the sector should not be repeated to all the developers. I think compliance is very, very important, very, very critical. I think every developer must follow the compliances as well as the RERA regulations. प्रदीप जी, एक और क्वेश्चन है मेरी तरफ से, क्योंकि आपने जो है पिछले जब पिछला बूम था तब आप मार्केट में गए, अपने आप को लिस्ट किया था, एंड you have been experiencing this of I would say the listed entity stigma, and many developers are planning. प्रदीप जी भी मेरे ख्याल से अपनी तरफ से सोच रहे हैं मेरे ख्याल से इस चरण में. What is your kind of advice to these developers? What are some of the things they should keep it in mind while they are getting into this listing themselves in the stock exchange, Pradeep ji?
See, to become a listed entity, always good. You will always get the soft money in your hand and good name and fame, and the more exposure to the global market capital as well as the real estate, and your the valuation of the company and your credibility drastically increase, no doubt about it. But at the same time, the lot of compliances. You can't do anything wrong. If you are doing anything wrong, everybody knows in the world what you are doing wrong. Or if you are doing right, everybody comes to know what you are doing right. But at the same time, the biggest concern, but I feel after become listed in last almost say 15 years, the real estate companies, they can't show quarter on quarter numbers as the investor expected, right? Like the real estate is a cycle. Sometime environment ने आपका काम रोक दिया, sometime आपका local authority ने काम रोक दिया, कभी आपने रेरा ने काम रोक दिया. तो आपकी जो प्रोजेक्ट की कंप्लीशन की ग्रोथ है एज पर द इंडस्ट्री न्यू स्टैंडर्ड, आपको रेवेन्यू तब बुक कर सकते हो जब आप प्रॉपर्टी कंप्लीट करके उसको डिलीवरी दोगे. विदाउट डिलीवरी यू कांट बुक द रेवेन्यू. तो क्वार्टर ऑन क्वार्टर बेसिस आपकी बैलेंस शीट सस्टेन नहीं कर सकती, और जब क्वार्टर ऑन क्वार्टर बेसिस आपकी बैलेंस शीट सस्टेन नहीं करती तो आपकी जो इन्वेस्टर है या आपका प्राइस है वहां पर एक बड़ा कंसर्न आता है. जितनी अभी लिस्टेड एंटिटी है, लाइक all put together about 35-40 entities, they are the listed. Out of that, the 4-5 entities, they are doing well on quarter basis. They are able to do because they are into the commercial real estate largely. They are getting the rental income, etc. Or like they are doing a PMC, like Godrej kind of the company, they are more doing the PMC kind of the thing than they own their own asset and they are developing their own projects. So to become a listed, really good, really enjoyable. Wherever you go, everybody recognize you. But under that, there are a lot of the compliances, lot of issues which you need to address on regular basis.
Very nice, good, Pradeep ji. Pradeep Lala ji, you have been representing Embassy for a long time, and this is the company which everyone is looking at today. Post listing as well. Pradeep ji, you got a very, very huge bucket on the office side, and there are many corporates who are, still working from home post the pandemic. It has been a challenge to bring them to the workforce, and primarily because of the safety and hygiene factor. What we have seen is there is a change in the requirement of these corporates on the workspace. Many of these companies are looking for either a hybrid working model or, many of, like Sunil said, many of the people are looking at co-working space or flexi offices. So what has been your experience as far as safety and hygiene of the corporate requirement? So what are some of the trends you are seeing within your company when you are interacting with the corporates?
So I think I'm the third Pradeep in line. So hi everybody. And every Pradeep ji becomes which Pradeep ji, we don't know. But it's nice to have a good name like this. Thanks. Coming back to the question, I'm fortunate to be a part of the Embassy Group, and we are probably the largest developer in the commercial real estate space today in the country. And like it's been mentioned, our REIT is being pretty successful and we're doing good results over there also.
Yeah.
Today, we could divide commercial real estate into three segments. One is the corporate IT parks, and then is the strata offices, and finally it is obviously your co-working spaces, which is a new entrant in the last 4 or 5 years. In this last 1.5 years of the COVID, we saw a lot of uncertainties in the beginning. And there was more or less like a panic situation in commercial real estate. Everybody thought probably it was the death of large campuses and even coming back to offices, and most of these large corporates would start doing work from different regions and, you know, cutting down their real estate footprint in our country, and the leasing would probably go down. But this has stabilized after this vaccination that has come in, and we all know that the vaccines are successful. And everybody, whether it's us as real estate developers and users of real estate and other industries and other verticals of real estate, everybody has realized how to run their businesses or the risks very safely and securely within the parameters of the hygiene levels and safety levels that have been professed across the country and globally. From a perspective of, I would say, people wanting to come back to office in the large campuses, primarily that is dominated by global multinationals. So from that perspective, the influx into real estate campuses has been a little slow. While we have all our campuses going live, none of the leases have gone away, lessees have gone away from us, and we see a great pipeline in the absorption. At the same time, our future projects have been accelerated because there is a demand, and also the pipeline 3 years and 4 years from now today for us is reasonably very healthy. We've also seen a lot of absorption increase in the last quarter of this year. At the same time, we see a reasonable increase in the yield of rentals. So we are very positive about the commercial real estate growth in the near future. Of course, from a perspective of wellness, safety, and hygiene levels, we as a facilities organization, we have got a more significant role to play today, because coming to office is not just coming to a space where you need to work and go back. It's a space which you're going to use for more than 60% of the time of the day that you're awake. And from that angle, I think the emphasis and the importance is there on services that are being used, indoor air quality, touchless solutions, and you know, a lot of sensitive areas like the washrooms being clean, and how you're going to move into the different fit out spaces and how you're going to manage spaces. Those are things. From a hybrid perspective, while it may sound very great that people or corporates would keep saving with their rentals going down if they can work out of different regions or even tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And there are some challenges which have not really been tabled out. You know, I could speak about large corporates who want to come back to work, but today they're not only looking at, you know, cost savings, but there are certain statutories, like, you know, I was in discussion, one of the larger corporates who probably have the largest footprint of commercial real estate. They lease out probably the largest footprint of commercial real estate in the country today. And they are facing challenges in understanding the legal aspects of a pay package of a employee who today has an HRA component in his salary, which is based on a tier 1 city. And now today, because he's working out of his home, which is not in a tier 1 city, it's probably in a tier 2 or a tier 3 city. So whether they have to relook at that entire HRA component, you know, and legal aspect of that is very significant. Furthermore, in this COVID period, you know, there were several concessions offered by the government in terms of the SEZ areas. So people who were actually corporates which are working out of SEZs have the concessions, and they were permitted to let people work out of home, and these concessions continued. But ultimately, will the government let these concessions continue for people working out of home while they are exporting their product? At the same time, most of these IT companies are catering to global giants, and data security is very important. Would they also tolerate people working from home and remote locations? So these are significant aspects which are not being considered. So we as developers, talking about our REIT, the REIT clearly is a reflection of our performance year on year. And I think Pradeep Jain sir said that it's very different for leasing being an annuity business, while residential sales being a transactional business. It's difficult to maintain your month-on-month, quarter-on-quarter, year-on-year results, which is easier for a company which is significantly into leasing compared to transactional sales, which is real estate residential. But we are bullish about commercial real estate. We are very positive, and I think it's only going to go northwards.
Yeah. Pradeep, prior to the COVID, you had a very large plan on the expansion of the commercial real estate. Post COVID, now since the demand from the corporates have, at least come down by 50%. I think if I correctly remember, in 2019, we have witnessed around 46 million square feet of absorption. And I think this year it is anticipated to be around 26 million square feet. So considering that kind of a variation on the absorption side, what is your thoughts on pouring in cement on the commercial development? And secondly, on the collection side, do the corporates are paying regularly on their rentals? If you compare it with some of the retail development, across India, even you would have seen in Bangalore also, many of the retailers are not paying their rentals, though it is gradually improving as the situation is becoming normal. So what is your take on these two aspects, Pradeep ji?
So, to be very honest with you, the REIT being a public body, all our results and all our performances are in the public domain. So there's no doubt about the collections and the receivables that we've had. We've not really reduced our footprint of the occupancy in any of our campuses. At the same time, nor have we, our results are clearly showing the recovery of the rentals. And at the same time, the new leases that we are getting in and the pipeline that we have is pretty aggressive and pretty encouraging for us. And there's nothing that I need to speak about. These results are in the public domain, and everybody who's on this platform would have seen that. So I cannot speak for other developers, but from an Embassy perspective, I think we've been very fortunate to have our pipeline going positively as far as collections, rentals, future leases. At the same time, what I really want to say is for the larger corporates who are planning 3 years in advance and 4 years in advance, we're also seeing a healthy pipeline there. That's pretty encouraging for us. So we've not in any way tried to, reduce the velocity of our growth in any way. We've seen I think statistics will speak, but we've seen about a 77% increase in requirement over the future requirements quarter on quarter. So we are aggressive, we are bullish, and we are very positive.
Thank you. So Prashant, I'm so sorry. I like to come lastly on the panel. You have been a large land banker on the southern side of the Gurgaon, which is basically Dwarka Expressway, and also you have been very prominent participant in the CREDAI as well, Prashant. So my take is that since RERA is becoming much stronger and little aggressive on the compliance side, what do you think? How it is going to impact the overall Gurgaon development, especially what we have seen? Pradeep Jain sir has already indicated there are developers still making the similar kind of mistakes what they did previously. And there are many developers who have not learned the lesson from the past experiences. So as a body, which you represented in CREDAI, so what does the CREDAI is doing differently with the new challenges being faced? And also, on the Dwarka Expressway, where do you see the infrastructure getting, developed so that, one can take the advantage of this boom on the different SS classes towards that side of that part of the city?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Santosh, for having me. And it's okay. I'm in such a great panel. It's okay if I'm the last person. No problem. Although my name is not Pradeep, the first three letters are the same. So
yes.
Okay. So coming to the first thing, what you mentioned about CREDAI. So if you're aware, even before RERA came, CREDAI had a policy that our members had to sign a code of conduct. If you're aware,
Prashant, वो चलता नहीं है ना अभी भी still, that has been an issue. Everyone has signed, given the commitment, correct. And I think Pradeep Jain was very blunt today in expressing.
Right. Right. So what I was saying, just as Pradeep ji bol rahe the, same thing, is that because you had asked him a question regarding listed and unlisted companies, right? Yes, and their survival. Yes. Yeah. But I agree with what Pradeep ji said. It's not really about listed or unlisted. You can categorize it as good or bad. Whether it's a small guy or big guy is not really the criteria. It's about, is somebody willing to adjust their way of business to the new reality, right? Which is, like, as you said, RERA. Now, what is RERA? Actually, we all know. But what is another very important aspect about RERA, which is not really talked about that much, is that, you see, we have been as an industry talking about getting industry status for many, many years, right? And what we feel is that RERA being introduced is the first step by the government in that direction. It is the first attempt to kind of categorize the industry as a proper industry where people are governed, like based on certain laws or certain sort of regulations. Just like we saw in the capital market after SEBI came, I think it was in 92, I think, we saw a huge change in the whole way stock trading and all that was done after that. So what I feel is that RERA is not been there for very long, in the sense, about 3-4 years it's been there, but we've had so many things happening in the last 3-4 years. We've had demonetization, we've had GST, we've had these multiple shutdowns even before COVID because of pollution. We keep talking about COVID shut down the whole construction and all, but really we have seen, everybody on this panel has suffered because I think 3-4 years in a row around this time after Diwali, we've had to cease construction, right? So real estate has faced a lot of trauma after RERA has come, and it is still yet to fully come out of that. Now, I feel that RERA is a great first step because it doesn't leave a choice. If you want to be a developer now, right, you have to register under RERA and you have to obey the laws of RERA. So sooner or later, anyone who wants to survive in this business will have to adhere to the principles of RERA, which include transparency, openness about your project, the timelines, etc., right? So I think that it's still too early because of all these other disruptions that have come in between to really see the long-term effect of RERA. But I am positive that though it may not be perfect because it's still new, RERA is also new, maybe some things still have to be streamlined, but I think in the long term, it is going to help in weeding out the so-called good and bad players from the industry.
Yeah.
Now, now coming to the Dwarka Expressway part, you know, again, Dwarka Expressway has been delayed for so many years, primarily because of legal reasons. And I would say that now in the last, since 2019, you've seen because it was brought under NHAI, and thanks to the Gadkari ji, it was been pushed now. So we are seeing that work is happening in full swing. Construction is going on. It was stopped again because of the pollution. There was one accident that happened a few months ago that delay. So delays keep happening. Again, like Pradeep ji ne bola tha, Pradeep Jain ji ne, ki it's very difficult to say here, ki kitna time lagega, because you keep having unexpected and unpredictable delays. But despite all that, I would say that on ground, if you see, the work is happening very well. It is going to be one of the largest elevated urban expressways in India. There's going to be all kinds of development in alongside that, generation of about 50,000 direct or indirect jobs, right? We're seeing that the traffic on NH8 will reduce by 50 to 60%, which will have a positive effect on the pollution. So there are a lot of positive aspects about the expressway. Of course, the ease of access to the airport from Gurgaon as well as from West Delhi. A lot of traffic from West Delhi will not have to go onto NH8. So all these benefits are there, and I am quite positive and very hopeful that by the end of 2022, it should be completed. Of course, it's not a, we can't be 100% sure, but this is the hope, provided that there is no other unexpected delay that happens, which is beyond our understanding right now.
Good. Thank you, Prashant. I think we are already, time is already over. Maybe I'll ask last question to each of the panel member. The question is, my request is if you can, answer this question in one word. Pradeep ji, I'll start with you only, Pradeep ji. Pradeep Agarwal ji. Pradeep ji, क्या लगता है कि real estate prices bottomed out हो चुका है या अभी और bottomed out होने की उम्मीद है?
I think so. Bottom out तो बहुत पहले हो चुका था. एक proper mechanism चाहिए था, क्योंकि अभी पैनल में डिस्कशन हो रहा था कि रेरा और बहुत सारी और चीजें जो हैं उसके आने के बाद भी लोग कुछ ना कुछ अनलिस्टेड जो रेरा में रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है वो लोग भी सेल कर रहे हैं. आई थिंक सो रेरा जो है वो पूरा गेम चेंजर बनने वाला है. अगर ये रेरा 2008 में आया होता तो आज जो रियल एस्टेट की हालत है वो वैसी नहीं होती, क्योंकि कोई भी अगर रेगुलेटर आएगा तो उस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर एक तो वैल्यूएशन बढ़ेगी, दूसरा लोगों का फेथ बढ़ेगा. तो मुझे लगता है कि जो सारे जितने भी एस्पेक्ट होते हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं मैच हो रहे हैं. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो दिन बाय दिन बहुत अच्छा हुए जा रहा है. अगर आप दिल्ली एनसीआर की बात करें, दिल्ली मुंबई एक्सप्रेसवे, इतना बड़ा एक्सप्रेसवे का एक पूरा जाल बन रहा है. केएमपी ऑलरेडी स्टैब्लिश हो चुका है. वेस्टर्न फ्रेट कॉरिडोर, इतने यानी जो 50-50 हजार करोड़ रुपए लग के ऐसी योजनाएं बन रही हैं. तो ऐसी सारी चीजें मुझे लगता है रियल एस्टेट को बहुत ज्यादा बूम देने वाली हैं. और दूसरी बड़ी बात, अगर कोई भी बिजनेस आपको लॉन्गर टर्म में चलाना है, मुझे लगता है कि शायद मैं एज ए एनारॉक आपको कहूं तो 1 लाख से ज्यादा ब्रोकर पूरी इंडस्ट्री में पूरे इंडिया में होंगे, लेकिन बेस्ट 10 ब्रोकर की 10 बेस्ट चैनल पार्टनर और ब्रोकर्स नहीं है. क्यों? बिकॉज एक प्रॉपर वे में काम करना चाहिए वो नहीं कर रहे हैं. तो रियल एस्टेट भी सेम है. जो लोग परफेक्ट मैनर में काम करेंगे वो लोग आने वाले टाइम में एक बहुत बड़े वैल्यूएशन को भी मिलेगा और काम भी उनके पास बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज होगा. और दूसरा, प्रदीप जी की बात से मैं बिल्कुल 100% सहमत हूं कि जो लोग आज रियल एस्टेट के अंदर ऐसे कमिटमेंट कर रहे हैं, चाहे श्योर रिटर्न के या ऐसे कमिटमेंट जो आने वाले टाइम में फुलफिल करना बड़ा मुश्किल होगा, तो आप ये मान के चलिए वो फिर से कहीं ना कहीं एक बहुत बड़ी ट्रबल में आने वाले हैं.
प्रदीप जैन सर, ये जो अभी जो बुआंसी आई है, डिमांड जो आई है, प्रदीप जी कब तक चलेगी, कितना देर तक चलने का आपकी उम्मीद है प्रदीप जी?
मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ये डिमांड काफी लंबे समय तक चलेगी, क्योंकि रियल एस्टेट की इम्पोर्टेंस सब लोगों को आज की डेट में अच्छे से पता है कि डिमांड ज्यादा है, सप्लाई कम है, एंड डे बाय डे सप्लाई कम होगी, सप्लाई बढ़ाना बहुत मुश्किल है, बिकॉज ऑफ द कॉस्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ द कंप्लायंसेस, बिकॉज ऑफ द सैंक्शंस एक्सेट्रा। तो प्राइस तो बढ़ेंगे, और यानी अब रियल एस्टेट के लिए जो पिछले 10 साल का वनवास था वो खत्म हो गया, और आने वाले 10 साल रियल एस्टेट के लिए होंगे, ऐसी मेरी सोच है।
Very good, Pradeep. Sunil, whether the land prices are going to go down or will it increase, considering that affordable housing is becoming a big thing in NCR region?
See, love for land in this country is so infinite that people will keep investing in land. The only thing is प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड लैंड जो है, जो लोगों ने खरीद के रखी, बहुत सालों तक रखी, everybody was running behind Tata, Godrej and large developers, ये मेरी GD हो जाए. I think those guys learned a lesson that if you sit on a very high saddle, वो land बिकने वाली नहीं है. So I think this lesson was learned in Hyderabad but forgotten in Hyderabad. Hyderabad में वो infinite FSI के concept में people started asking crazy prices. I still find Hyderabad market to be extremely crazy. Where there is nothing available for less than 8,000-9,000 rupees a foot. And even as far as Kudlu and other, large locations, Kokapet and all, pricing is being done at 40-50 crores an acre and things like that. So I think when it comes to land, I think जो land हमारे है उसका appreciation retail level पे जरूर होगा, and हो रहा है. We've seen that this whole land game, even if the demographics is moving towards flats. A millennial wants to live in a flat, but still that love for land for whatever reason has not died down, at least in NCR, and it has not died down in parts of Bangalore. वहाँ आसपास बहुत plotting हो गई, उस plotted में floors बनने लगे. So I think there will be a distinct class जो पहले दिल्ली में था floors का, वो धीरे-धीरे आप देखते हो बाहर भी अदर जा रहा है. So I think land pricing will be stable. बहुत steep rise आ जाएगा land prices में. I think that will be dependent on how the pricing will move in a given location. For a long period of time ऐसा believe था पूरी इंडस्ट्री को कि land की value, हम किसी negotiate करने जाते थे deal पे, कहते land तो मेरी 20 करोड़ रुपए एकड़ है. अब आप क्या कर सकते हो? But land value is always a function of कि वहाँ माल कितने का बिकता है. अगर वहाँ माल 2,000 रुपए फुट बिक रहा है और आप कहो कि जी मैं तो 10 करोड़ की लैंड बेच लूंगा पर एकड़, FSI उसमें 2 की मिलेगी, तो कभी पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. So I think what industry has learned very well is now, at least, is कि जो land है उसकी value is a function of कि वहाँ end price क्या हो रहा है. So I think today land will be governed by कि हम किस developer से बात कर रहे हैं, उसकी क्या ability है, क्या demand supply situation है, कितने समय में reasonable project बन जाएगा. So I think land will now become much more of a scientific approach than just saying कि यहाँ पे तो साहब इतने की land बिक रही है, वो price है, उसके बाद आप development करो या ना करो, ये मैं नहीं. That high horse जिसपे वो land owner बैठा हुआ था, I think that certainly will be rationalized. At least I hope so that is going to be, because developer ने भी देख लिया है कि वो बहुत तेजी में, कहते हैं ना पेच पतंग में लड़ाई तो हाथ सब कट गए. There was always a guy वो कहता था अच्छा वो आपको 20 दे रहा है मैं 22 दूंगा, because क्या था आगे सेल हो रही थी, रेरा था नहीं तो आगे से पैसा आ रहा था. So people were also taking bigger punts. मैं बड़ा वीर हूँ, ऐसा कंपटीशन हो गया था that developer said अच्छा वो नहीं कर रहा चलो मैं करके दिखाता हूँ. I think at least the big guys have now realized that this is not going to happen. मैं DLF का नाम लूंगा. DLF गए, बैंगलोर में गए, again they retracted. They went to Calcutta, they retracted. They went to Bombay, they retracted. Now they've realized कि ये एक मॉडल हर जगह नहीं चलता है. So I think if DLF has realized it and a lot of developers realize it, so I think there will be a more rationality to large land project lands. Retail level पे, I've been find very surprising. Airport आ रहा है, लोग खरीदे जा रहे हैं वहाँ पे land. Now, whether you look at Bangalore, वहाँ पे भी ये सट्टा हुआ. At the end of the day, हेब्बाल से लेके आपके एयरपोर्ट की लैंड तक बहुत टाइम तक लैंड उस हाई सट्टे पे बैठी रही, कुछ नहीं हुआ. सिमिलर केसेस इन बॉम्बे, नया एयरपोर्ट आ रहा है, लैंड प्राइस बढ़ती रही, उसके बाद स्टैग्नेशन फॉर 10 years. So I think, if people are mad enough to, buy at a very expensive price and think further appreciation is going to happen, it's not going to happen. So my sense is land is going to be a little stable than what you have seen in the past.
Good. Sunil, I think next session panel is also already ready. So we'll have to finish it here only. Thank you, everyone. It has been fantastic views from each one of you. I think your thoughts, your knowledge has really helped us, helped our audience to, get certain benefits. I do hope that they've enjoyed these interactions. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your participation. And over to you, Sapna.
Thanks, Santoshji. I think, a very interesting session and some very key takeaways, I believe, from this session. Collaboration and consolidation is the buzzword today in the industry. Scientific approach, again, rationalization of prices, and, the developers are now changing their entire model of working. Mr. Solomon, I would like your last word on that. We heard everyone that how things are happening, how now even Mr. Sunil Agarwal said that, even developers are realizing, how they should approach in a more scientific manner rather than, buying prices. So what your last word would be?
No, so when you talk of scientific manner, I'd just like to say a few words about science, actually, that now technology is playing a huge role in how we're actually identifying property, how we're buying property. In fact, there was just a survey that 50% of the deals, the decisions are now being taken online, whether through a portal or through Google search and all those different things. So I think science is playing a big role now. Technology is playing a role. How we're going to move forward as an industry. It's going to make our construction techniques more streamlined, more efficient. Internet of Things is coming in a big way to ensure whether it's residential or commercial, to create energy efficient buildings. So all these things are happening. The way we are showing our products to people, especially during COVID, a lot of people are now doing remote viewing of using virtual reality, augmented reality, drones, things like that. So yes, as far as that goes, if you're talking about scientific approach, yes, now that is one aspect. Second aspect, what I would say is that if we want to survive, we have to understand that customers are king. So I say that real estate is also, in my opinion, you can call it a quasi-hospitality industry moving forward. Gone are the days that we just sell an apartment and say, okay, bye-bye. If we want to survive, if we want to create a brand and create customer loyalty for our future projects, we have to give a complete experience, a complete lifestyle, a complete ecosystem. So that is the way I would like to say.
That's right. Technology, in fact, has been accelerated by COVID, as you rightly mentioned. And real estate is no more just a brick and mortar industry, but it's become a service industry we have seen. So thank you so much. I think we had some very interesting opinions and views from our eminent panel members, and Mr. Santosh Kumar for bringing out those valuable views from our eminent speakers. So thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your time. Thanks, Mr. Solomon, for your views and opinions. Mr. Sunil Agarwal, Mr. Pradeep Lala for being here with us, Mr. Pradeep Agarwal, thank you for being here with us today, and Mr. Pradeep Jain. And in fact, let me also mention Ms. Pushpa Bector, who was supposed to join us, but she had some health emergency with her mother. So our best wishes to her and her family on that. But thank you so much for being here, and let's move on to the next session now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.